Hi, I'm John Giesick, and welcome to the C-Suite Sherpa podcast, where we shine a spotlight on business experts and resources that you should know. Today, I'm excited to have Drew Amoroso on our podcast. He is the founder and CEO of Due Course, and they specialize in connecting lawyers and law firms with professional and development coaches. Drew, welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit about your company and the clients you serve.
Sure. Thanks for having me, John. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm the founder of a company called Due Course, which is a platform-enabled coaching company dedicated to helping lawyers at top law firms, AmLaw 200 firms, develop the skills, mindset, techniques, workday habits, routines, and really the confidence they need to thrive in very demanding legal environments. So, unlike a lot of traditional development programs, we are a platform-enabled company that also uses AI to provide real-time coaching, a personalized coaching. Everything is anchored by our AI coach named Andrew that we just launched recently. So lawyers are really getting the on-demand guidance that they need tailored to their immediate challenges. And part of the value of the platform is that we can provide that type of coaching at scale to, global law firms with 1,000 or 1,500 lawyers. I started Due Course because I went through this experience as a first year and feeling like there was a disconnect between what I learned in law school and what I needed to practice. I stayed for about 5 years. A firm called Reed Smith, had a fantastic experience and saw how traditional training sessions and the lack of focus on the human aspects of what lawyers need to do each day, right? EQ, right? Their mindset, habits, and routines. A lot of it, the traditional stuff does not address that. So I wanted to really bridge that gap and also introduce a technology solution that provides a human-centered but tech-driven approach to coaching.
That sounds like a great space you're in, Drew. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I want to ask you a question about one of your clients reach out to you. What problem are they trying to fix? What do they say when they say, "Hey, Drew, you got to help me with fill in that blank for us"?
Yeah, sure. So it's a couple of things. Primarily, they're looking for high impact programs that will fill in some of their blanks in terms of things that they're not able to do internally, right? So a lot of our clients are highly skilled teams, but they have a limited amount of resources. And so they look to us to provide this highly specialized and also personalized resources in the form of cohort coaching, which we do. We'll take a big group through a course and break them into small cohorts, which is a really impactful way to coach. We do one-to-one coaching. They're looking for that sort of specialized experience, ways to demonstrate ROI. Professional development and coaching, sometimes it's not the same as practice management or timekeeping software where you can really get into the numbers. It's more nuanced than that. They want to be able to see the impact. And so we do that in a couple of different ways through qualitative and quantitative data that we collect so that they can see the value of the investment, pass that along to others at the firm, and so that we can continue to fund their work. And they want something that isn't going to take up a lot of their time, right? So we're focused on creating products that do not add to their list of things to do, but our goal is as much as possible to take things off their plate because they're already overworked. So we really try to focus on giving them those three things in everything that we offer.
Yeah, that's a great balance. I mean, in the legal industry, who's billable for every minute, the goal is to be as billable as possible and to come in with a task list and items that they can't bill for. I could imagine that there's some resistance for there. So that's great that you took that into consideration when you did.
Yeah, what we're fighting, our competition really is, I wouldn't say that it's any other company really, it's the billable hour and also human behavior, right? Because we have to sort of get them out of these old habits. We have to get them thinking about the value of investing in themselves and also learning how to make space for these things inside their workday. We're very focused on teaching them how to look at what happens during a workday and helping them understand that there is room for them in a chaotic environment to shift things around and take ownership of their workday experience. And so I think we've become very good at fitting in highly impactful coaching and training into these little windows so that we can, work with them and then we say, okay, we'll see you later. Go back to work. I think that's one of the things that we do best.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they want to hear. The
Yeah.
words go back to work means go back and be billable. Yeah.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
makes total sense. So what do you see, Drew, with your industry? What do you see the biggest obstacle in your industry over the next 5 years? What do you see coming down the road?
So what's happening right now is there, uh, the legal industry traditionally is slow to adopt. It's sort of rooted in history and tradition. Every legal brief, like, what do? You look backwards. Like, what did someone say 100 years ago, right? So a lot of the mindset is sort of slow moving and precedent. So innovation has always been a challenge. But what we have now is this real explosion of technology and AI solutions that are starting to pick up in terms of popularity and trust. So the next 5 years is going to really, it's going to automate a lot of the basic work that lawyers, junior lawyers primarily, are doing. So researching, drafting, document review, those are all things that lawyers, new lawyers come in and do for several years. It's a way for them to learn how to be a lawyer, right? How to work a case. Now that it will be automated, there's this big discussion and a big challenge. Like, well, like, what are they going to do? How are we going to bring people into the industry? How do we use technology in a sustainable and ethical way? Because of that, in terms of looking at what our role will be, at the end of the day, there's always going to be humans behind these tools. A tool is only as good as the person who's using it, right? We actually, there's tools right now that lawyers have access to, we all have access to, that are super powerful, that have nothing to do, that were super powerful before AI. But we still aren't focusing on how to get someone to interact with it in a way that will maximize the benefit. Going through a workday, we get pushed and pulled in a lot of different directions. We're not really intentional about how we use tools, the way we structure our day, the way we maximize what we get from interactions with people and how we schedule. And so it will be critical when this automation comes for law firms to use tools like coaching and AI powered training and coaching to speak to the human side, right? It's going to be about the people. And that's been neglected for a lot of years. We're really trying to sound the alarm and say, hey, if you want this technology to be used to the fullest extent, we have to focus more on the people, right? And not only how they interact with the technology, but if they're traditionally bottom line roles like research and writing are gone, what's going to be left? Well, lawyers are going to have to do more people stuff, right? Talking to clients, strategizing, interacting with one another, EQ, right? Managing teams. So the people stuff is going to be there, and there's just not enough attention. And coaching is a really incredible way to address that because it's focused on behavior change. Training is about information exchange. Coaching is about behavior change. We see a real opportunity for us to help our clients as that shift occurs over the next couple of years.
It sounds like there's old school ways was all personal one-on-one communications, and then we had some tech tools coming in. Now it almost sounds like we have to protect people from the tech tools so they don't lose the old way of doing it. Our motto is all business is people business.
Yeah.
And if we forget about the people using the tools, that's going to be the problem. Instead of saying, just let AI do all that, let AI do all that, their involvement as a human gets
Yeah.
minimized. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And then the other thing too is, okay, there's conversations. This tool is going to save X amount of time, but that's where the conversation stops. What are the lawyers going to do at that time? How do they capture it? How do they use it efficiently? How do they have some principles and some constructs to help them in the messy busyness of a workday to use that time? It's just going to sort of dissipate back into these old habits and routines and things that end up are getting lost and have been getting lost for years. So we're going to go all the way back to where we were with more effective tools. The bar of what will be able to be accomplished in a day will be done, but everyone will be up there. We're going to slide backwards unless we address like, what are we going to do at the time and how are we going to address the people part of giving them ownership and agency over figuring that out in the context of a workday.
Yeah, we're not helping you free up time so you could go find another tech tool to replace people.
It's never about the tools.
All right, Drew, I appreciate all that stuff. Listen, we're going to loosen up our ties a little bit. I'm going to take you through a little lightning round. I want the viewers to get to know a little bit more about you personally. Not deep personally, but I'm going to ask you some questions, just answer them like a lightning round fashion, and we'll give viewers a look inside Drew on the other side of the microphone.
Happy to do it.
So, Drew, real quick, coffee or tea, man?
Coffee all day. Well, not all day, but every day, we'll say.
You bet. How about cats or dogs?
Dogs. Yeah, but nothing against cats. Just
Right.
a preference for dogs.
So, Drew, is there a favorite quote or something that you go back to? Maybe something you got printed, hanging on a monitor, maybe framed on a wall somewhere, some quote that you go back to for either inspiration or reminders?
Yeah. We were talking about this a little bit before we got on, but I've been the beneficiary of a lot of coaching and therapy myself over the last couple of years. There's a quote that goes something like, the best thing that you can do for me is work on yourself. The best thing I can do for you is work on myself. So it's really prioritizing this idea that it's okay for us to put ourselves first, to work on ourselves. Once we do that, we can show up as the best version of ourselves for other people. And I just love that idea because it's true. When we do it, we need to take care of ourselves, right? As individuals and even as employees and as a company whole, if you want to put it into the work context, we show up better for our clients. We're more equipped instead of bending over triple backwards to always do more. But at some point that runs out of steam. I think about that just about every day.
Yeah, that's a great reminder, especially after we pour our hearts and souls into a business. Taking care of ourselves usually is the back burner until there's an urgent event, some catastrophic event, and then we jump back and say, oh crap, it's about time I started doing this. We were talking before I hit record. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but if you ever get a chance to plop down in front of the TV, what's on? What are you watching?
Yeah. If you were to go into my Netflix or Prime account, you would see different shows that are British murder mysteries, like a sleepy town in a rural village has got like the chief and his constable, and people are getting, murdered all over the place. And it's like 90 minutes long. So probably like 45 minutes longer than it has to be, but it's just very slow. I love those things. I don't know why. Maybe just the pace is kind of cool. There's a lot of them out there. And I know maybe two people, both from England, who know about these. I might be the only ones that are watching them on Netflix and Prime. So those
That's
are always,
great, man. That sounds
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, they're cool.
What about a book, Drew? You got a favorite book or something you read now? Or if you had to make a book recommendation to somebody, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I just recently, I like to have something simple, and I also like to have something that's feeding my mind a little bit. Recently, I was introduced to a book called 10x is easier than 2x. Um, Fantastic, just essentially this idea that to get to 2x, you just have to do the same things, but twice as much of it. And if you want a 10x, it has to be radically different from what you did. And you sort of have to blow everything up and make commitments that you otherwise wouldn't make. That really shifted my mindset a bit and got me excited about how to implement some of those things into the business. Um, and then I was an English major, so I like things like poetry and Victorian literature. So I picked up Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde recently. So I've been reading that. It's well written and a cool period in history.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. How you could
Yeah.
relate that to history. I would have no clue on that, but that's cool. That's cool. You
Yeah.
make the connection. So
Yeah, it's cool.
let's talk about bucket list, Drew. Give me something that was on your list that you already checked off and something still on your list that you're focused on that you know you're going to nail.
Yeah. I I always wanted to, when I started this company 7 years ago, one of the things that was an impetus for me was this idea of being free in some ways, like being able to go where opportunities are. A couple of years ago, I was on the road for 6 to 8 months. This was several years ago. I just got to experience what that's like to move around a bit, experience new places. It amplified my work. It was very energizing. Bucket list for the future. During the pandemic, a couple of my friends and I, we quarantined together and taught each other how to DJ. So I'm also a house music DJ. No musical ability whatsoever, thankfully. I haven't found anything in my life that made me feel like a kid over and over. And I just turn it on. It's fun. Gets me to go home. It's a good endpoint to my day because I know I want to go do something fun. So my bucket thing would be to play a big festival. I want to play at a big festival. It's so fun, John. If you're the person who is standing in front of 200, 500 or more people, and you're the one who's dishing out the happiness and the fun, no better feeling. So that one's at the top of my list for sure.
Dude, you just gave me chills just by describing that and your face lit up. I know you're
Yeah.
going to nail that for sure.
Thank you. Yeah. It's coming up. I need to sustain my energy here with this business. I absolutely love what I do. I get up every day and I'm truly connected. The amount of times that I'm not really connected to my gratitude for my employees and our clients is very rare. I have to hold a lot of space for that. But as soon as that space clears up, putting my head down, making music. So if you want to come backstage when that happens, John, I'll put you on the list. You
You
already know.
bet, man. I want to
Yeah.
be on that list for sure. All right, Drew. So people are going to reach out to you. People are going to want to see you and connect with you. What's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, I think I'm really active on LinkedIn. I like that as a space. So just search for me, Drew Amoroso, Amoroso. Email is also a great tool too. So it'd be my first name, Drew, at Duecourse, DUECOURSE .coach. anyone who is curious about this idea of coaching, we work sometimes with clients outside of the legal space. This idea of really being prepared for the people part of it through coaching and through an automated tool that will help coaching help deliver that scale for remote workers and just sort of, bridge that gap. This is something that across professional services, even small to mid-size companies, they're all going to need it. It is coming. So I'm happy to discuss and just listen to, spitball with anybody who might be interested in that or just wants to stay connected professionally.
Hey, that's great, Drew. I appreciate you taking the time and being our guest on the podcast, and I look forward to connecting again soon.
Thanks for having me, John. Pleasure.